The Raiders have a lot of issues, and they have to find solutions instead of just doing the same thing and expecting a different result.
He's causing a ton of problems for every defense.
But at one point, we have to get Ashton Denty going.
Hey, welcome to the latest edition of Upon Further Review, brought to you by Coors Light. I'm Paul Gutierrez, and not a really happy week, so to speak, for the Raiders, coming off that Monday night loss to the Cowboys at home in front of a raucous crowd, in front of a national television audience, and they go down 33-16. It was a very quixotic conundrum. That's my phrase of the week in terms of trying to describe the Raider offense. They opened up very pass-happy, didn't have much of a running game, and that was all by design. But at the end of it, again, the 33-16 loss. But the beauty of the NFL, as I've always said, is every game is a season into itself. And coming forward now, they got another chance, another opportunity. The Cleveland Browns rolling into town. They are 2-8, as are the Raiders. The Browns have not won since Week 7. Joining me now to help break down exactly what the Raiders are walking into with this home game at Allegiant Stadium, Cynthia Frelund. Cynthia, thank you so much for coming in. I got two words for you to start this whole thing. Shedeur, Sanders. Go.
We've been waiting for Shedeur. I mean, people have been calling for it. We've seen it in every single, if you watch all of the Browns games, you'll see at least 3 or 4 times during the broadcast, they'll hold up the signs being like, we want Shedeur. You're like, all right, you got what you want. We'll see how it looks.
In his debut or in his last game, a lot of criticism because he hadn't taken many, if any, snaps with the first team with the Browns, and it showed. 4 of 16 for 47 yards, an interception. But from the Raider perspective, they've kind of made some bones against, and that's a bad thing there with the dog pound, and they're always throwing their bones out there. But the Raiders have made their bones against rookie quarterbacks. Cam Ward, Spencer Rattler, the last 2 rookies that they've faced, they've beaten. What are they running into here with Shedeur Sanders coming out? This is a guy that a lot of people saw early on as a first-round pick, if not the overall number 1, lasted all the way to the 5th round.
Well, I love Dion. I worked with Dion for years, so I'm that aside. But I think part of the film on him from college showed that maybe he wasn't the first-round pick everyone thought. Otherwise, somebody would have drafted him in a higher position. Part of what you're going to see is, I'm going to call it chaotic a little bit, because there hasn't been a lot of, he hasn't taken a lot of snaps with the ones. He hasn't had a lot of experience reading defenses at any point. Pressure was a problem for him in that first matchup. The design was tough. Let's just say it wasn't. That was a tough outing. Let's just the tough outing against the Ravens. So when you're looking at ways to exploit him, it's really just about getting pressure. And we know that there's a few people on the front of the Raiders defense that can do that pretty well.
Yeah, that's called a tease, right? We know exactly where we're going next. The Raiders pass rush, they've been exploiting rookie quarterbacks. They sacked Cam Ward 6 times when they faced him earlier this year. Cleveland has the worst pass block grade in the NFL at 36.7 per Pro Football Focus. And Max Crosby, like you just said, there's some guys on that line that like to get to the quarterback. He's leading the team in sacks with 6. What do you see the Raiders needing to do to actually get more pressure on him? Because he's got a little bit of mobility.
So the quick pressures are going to be the key. He took 4 passes against quick pressure last week, and all of them, 3 were incompletions and 1 was the interception. So we define a quick pass as sub 2.5 seconds. Ultimately, it's going to be about exploiting an O-line that has been very had some issues. I'm being nice. Had some issues and not helped their quarterback out. But also, if you get fast, it's the tempo and that rhythm disrupting that. He's going to have a hard time navigating around that, because the rhythm that is required for those quick passes, I just don't see how he's had enough time, even with 1 whole week of knowing he's the starter, to kind of form those relationships quite yet.
Yeah, and we could talk about Shedeur all day long, and people would click and listen and everything like that. But let's move on to the Raiders offense, because I wrote a column after the game that, all season long, we've talked with our friend James Jones about this. What is the Raiders' offensive identity? And I finally wrote, they figured it out. They don't have one. What do you see with this team? The identity is they don't have an identity, and they're still trying to figure it out week to week. They were real pass-happy early because Pete Carroll thought that they could take advantage of the play-action pass game. But if you don't have a running game, I don't know how that really goes that way. What did you see from the Raider offensive prowess, I guess, for lack of a better term, last week, and what they could potentially take advantage of against a really, really stout Cleveland Brown defense?
Well, it was since Next Gen Stats has been tracking,
Yeah.
last game was actually a game where they had the most pass attempts off of play action without running the football. So it just shows you that there was the decision to not be balanced last game didn't work out, right? It didn't work in that regard. I think part of what this team is trying to figure out is how the O-line can put them in the best position, both for their rookie running back to succeed, for Brock Bowers to succeed, for Geno Smith to succeed. There are some things that are good indicators, even though the Browns defense is a total nightmare. There are some good indicators for this game about areas where the puzzle pieces of what we've seen from Geno, namely that he's very, he's got some better splits against man than zone. We'll get into that in a little bit. Another tease right there, but it's if matchups make for fights, perhaps this team has been playing the matchup a bit too much and less about finding an identity that is truly theirs.
Yeah, it always goes back to, and I ask players this question every now and again, everybody always talks about, we'll take what the defense gives us. And yet you have the mantra of Al Davis that's in this organization's DNA. That sounds good, but we want to take what we want. But if you don't have the protection up front and you don't have the time, whether that's either to open up holes for the running back, Ashton Jeanty, 6 carries, 7 yards. Brock Bowers, again, he flashes when he gets the ball out there. What do they need to do to get these guys free? And I know it seems real simple to just say the offensive line has to give the time. But when you're, again, reimagining the offensive line on the fly in the middle of a season, that doesn't seem like a recipe for success, does it?
Some of these other teams that we could look to for comps of what has worked, perhaps heavier personnel formations where you ask people to block a bit more, perhaps 6 O linemen. These are some strategies other teams have taken, but being committed to the run game, even though it doesn't always look good or net positive yards, sometimes that commitment can have the effect of just giving the defense one little touch of questioning what's going to happen next, right? So being a little bit more committed to something and keeping the defense just a little disbalanced, that could potentially give you you don't need, it's funny because we say, it's a game of inches. I love all these football adages, but it really is. And these small incremental changes, they do add up week over week. You just have to stay committed to them. And it's hard to do. It's hard to do.
When you look at an Ashton Jeanty, he's accounting for 43.8% of the team's touchdowns this year. Trey Tucker is a piece now. Brock Bowers, obviously. And I made the joke earlier about the identity, not really having an identity. When you were looking at this team from afar or from your statistical standpoint, what do you see that this team's identity is and or what it should be going forward?
I think, like I said, a lot of it is to play matchups, in part because the O-line has had a lot of injuries and problems and all of these different things. Plus, you had a rookie running back that you asked a lot of, and that's a lot on any rookie, let alone a guy. There's a lot of things that are all kind of big asks, and it looks like there needs to be a little crisper route running, a little bit crisper of the deep threat, just 1/2 of a second more from the O-line, and then make it so that Ashton Jeanty gets a little bit of just a like 2 more steps, and it's going to look a lot different.
Big challenge, asking that offensive line to do that, especially with who's going to be looking across from them. Whether it's Stone Forsythe on the left side, DJ Glaze on the right, you got Myles Garrett coming at him, and he just ranks among the top, if not the top, of every statistical algorithm you can imagine from an edge rusher. What do those two guys, what do Stone Forsythe and DJ Glaze, what do they got in store for them going up against this guy?
Well, we've seen a lot of teams chip, double team, all of the tricks in the book. Myles Garrett, and the we'll give credit where credit's due here, because Myles Garrett, not dissimilar to Max Crosby, is in a team where the offense is struggling, but he's a real anchor of this defense. And some of the things that he's doing aren't dissimilar to how Max Crosby functions, namely that he's getting almost inconceivable sacks, right? You're not expecting, if it's not a pass happy situation, it's not like Myles Garrett's facing 47 passing attempts. Okay, that was a historic number. But you just have to design plays that work away from him, run pressure right into him, hope that chip works, and perhaps mix in a little bit more of quick plays, but to an intermediate level.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Myles Garrett's stats, I mean, he's leading the league in sacks with 15, 22 tackles for loss. The Browns' defense in itself, they have the second best total yards, total defense out there right now. So a lot for the Raider defense to chew on. Something I want to chew on, though, is your number to know, because you always kind of surprise me with something here. So with the Browns coming to town, what is your number to know?
So we're going to do 42,
Okay.
and we're going to use it in two separate areas. 42 as in the percentage of time that the Browns play man defense. That is the number one rate in the league, the most man defense across any defense so far this season. What is the good news here? Well, if you look at Geno Smith's results against man versus zone, we talked about it before, man and zone, he has the same exact number of touchdown throws against each. But when it comes to interceptions, that's where things become much different. His interception number against man is 2 interceptions, so far fewer. And his quarterback rating goes up about 17% or 17 points. The second application of it, that is Brock Bowers' air yard share in the last 2 games without Jacoby Myers. So put these two together, the 42% of the time that the Browns play man, let's get it to Brock Bowers for 42% of the air yards in this one. Sounds good to me.
For everybody to check out all your numbers to know, you can see all of her numbers on the Raiders YouTube page as well as at Raiders.com. Cynthia, thank you for helping me break down what's coming up for the Raiders.
You got it.
All right, don't go anywhere. We've got linebacker, special teams war daddy, Jon Rhattigan. He's going to join the show. He's only the 3rd ever player from Army to suit up for the silver and black.
It's game day. The day we've been waiting for. And this is more than just a game. It's a passion, a lifestyle. It's time to suit up, Raider Nation. This is Raiders football, where we all bleed silver and black. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. Here at the Raider Image, you're part of our team. Every hat, every piece of gear. Let your loyalty show out. Whether you're in the stands or cheering from home, we've got your back. Feel the confidence, own the game.
We
are the Raider Image. Your game, your gear. Exclusively at the Raider Image.
Meet Max Out. He's a credit wrecker. His eyes are bigger than his wallet. And his credit score pays the price. You see, Max doesn't know he should only use 30% or less of his credit limit, because using his full line can lower his score. Don't be like Max Out. Instead, learn how to avoid the wreckers at creditwreckers.com. Credit One Bank for what's ahead.
Hey, welcome back to Upon Further Review. I'm Paul Gutierrez, joined by Raiders special teams war daddy, Jon Rhattigan. Jon, I guess it being the wake of Salute to Service Week and you being a U.S. Army, an Army grad, I mean, what does it mean to you, not only for Salute to Service Week, but now we're going into My Cause, My Cleats?
Yeah, it's a special opportunity to represent everything that I do. Fortunately, get to represent. So this time of year is always really special to me. Stay very close with all my relationships and everybody that helped me kind of get to this point, especially through my time at West Point. And ultimately, this is just a great month for recognition and to give back to so many different people and obviously organizations that have aided my success as an individual, but also just have such an impact on our country and every guy on our team individually, right? They know somebody, they have family members, somebody that has, been in the service. And so it's a really, really big month, not just for me, but for everybody on the team and certainly for fans across the NFL.
Not just the fans and people, but on a personal level, I just showed you the photo. My grandfather stormed Normandy. My dad was in Vietnam, in both U.S. Army when I was born. But for you, I did a little bit of research. You're the 3rd Army player ever to play for the Raiders.
Nice.
Could you know the other 2? Would you even know the names? Andre Carter II, he was just here last year.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Bob Mishak, he played in the 60s.
Okay, that's
And
a little before my time.
Yeah, so what's interesting about Bob, though, is he played for the Raiders 1963. That was Al Davis's first year with the Raiders.
Oh, wow.
When Al Davis came to the Raiders, he changed the uniforms to silver and black that we know today.
Yeah.
And that was inspired by the Black Knights of the Hudson.
Ah, I love that.
So there's an Army connection.
The more you know. I
Yeah,
love
the more
that.
you know.
Yeah.
So when you think about the connections between Army and the Raiders, I mean, and you're part of that fabric now. I mean, does that kind of, I don't know, do something for you, or just when you kind of just think about being part of the Raider organization now?
Yeah, I think it's more, the latter, where it's just I'm a part of the Raider organization, so it's cool to know that history.
Yeah.
It's cool to have some personal history myself to different things and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's about the organization and coach's rules, right? Number one is protect the team. So it's about the organization, more than anything. And I'm just so fortunate to be out here. It's tough, right? We're not where we want to be as a team. We're 2-8, and that's always that's going to come with its frustrations. But at the end of the day, it's such a world-class organization. So representing the Raiders, representing the NFL, and then obviously West Point, our nation's military. It's a lot more than just the record sometimes, and it's tough to really say that because football is about winning, playing competitive sports is about winning, but at the same time, it's a special month. We're doing the salute to service, and there's a reason for it, right? The attention that football gets and everything that comes with this game, it means a lot for me as an individual, but also just, our team to be able to represent the military and have the month that we have.
When you came to the Raiders, you were signed off with the Steelers practice squad, but you already had a familiarity with Pete Carroll, having played for him in Seattle. The Raiders right now, they've just undergone a coaching change at special teams coordinator.
Right.
You being a special teams war daddy. How unique is that to have that philosophy? Is it a philosophy change, a different coach there in that position as a coordinator? How hard is that? How difficult, how seamless is that to kind of do that midseason?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's never seamless, but you try to make it as seamless as possible. And ultimately, there's no big changes because we've gone, basically half the season with one coordinator, and then things kind of change on a whim, and you got to get adjusted as quick as you can. So it's never really the big changes, but it's a lot of the small changes, and those usually compound into becoming big changes. I think, the biggest thing, just where we're at right now as a team, not just special teams, not just offense, defense, whatever. Where we're at as a team is we need to finish the season strong. We need to build some momentum so that, not only do we prove to ourselves, hey, these close games we could have won, even though we didn't, we got to deal with that and look forward. But in the future, right, this next game, we got to take it one game at a time and really just build wins because we're far more capable than where we're at right now. And that's every different phase of the team that we have, right? Special teams, we can produce, right? We can do so much more than we have been. Offense and defense, same thing. And so it's really just as a team being able to, reach our potential, regardless of coaching changes, regardless of personnel changes. It's about, finding our potential as a team and really playing consistent football. And so in our phase in special teams, that's what it's about, consistency and finishing this season strong, right? Regardless of coaching changes, regardless of guys in and out and ups and downs and actives, inactives, it doesn't matter. All things aside, right? We just need to go to work, get some wins, play some consistent football, and at the end of the day, there's no big change or small change that's really gonna, make the biggest difference. It's coming to work every day, focusing on winning and just, doing your job so that we can stack consistency.
When it comes to you on a personal level, why special teams? Why is special teams your specialty, and how and why are you so good at it?
I want to do it.
Yeah.
I think sometimes in the NFL that's kind of make or break for guys. They think they might be too good for it. They think it doesn't have as much of an impact. Whatever misconceptions guys have, ultimately I want to do it because it's a role and it's a huge impact if you let it be, right? When we have some of these kick returns that go past, the logo, that's huge for our offense, right? Flipping the field. And it's really just a thankless job. And I have no problem doing a thankless job as long as it helps the team win. And I think that's kind of the mindset of a lot of guys that excel in special teams in that phase. So I would say more than anything, I want to do it. And at the end of the day, it's the complete, it's everything you do in football, right? It's tackling, it's blocking, it's vision, it's being aggressive. So you kind of wrap all that together. And it's like, I love the fact that when you're a good special teams player, you're a good complete football player, and that's kind of how I pride myself in the game because obviously playing inside linebacker, I don't have much blocking experience, but as I've gotten older and as I've played more special teams, it's like, hey, I pride myself on being able to block really well. I might get a little overboard by thinking I could actually pass block as a running back or something now, but no, I just take pride in it. I really do, and I'm hungry, to have an impact in the games and have a big role on our team. And every Sunday, we just played Monday and Thursday, so every Sunday, every primetime game, whatever it might be, it's just kind of being able to own a role that has something to do with us potentially winning the game.
And then I would assume that a lot of that mentality comes from where you went to school, so Army. Why Army, and why? I understand in high school you had an injury, and Army was on you at the beginning, and there's a little bit of loyalty there, but why Army? Yeah,
I would say my recruiting took an interesting turn. I did my ACL my junior year of high school, and when after that, when recruiting had kind of played out, there was some loyalty in terms of them, staying with me. And at the same time, I went out to see West Point. It's so stunning there. My perspective has changed a little bit since I was 17 and went out for the first time. But, I still have so much appreciation for that place. And I think ultimately it was Tucker Waugh. Shout out Tucker Waugh. He did a great job recruiting me and kind of telling me everything West Point was about, because me and my brother, we had watched the Army-Navy games pretty much my whole childhood growing up. My brother, he was always, he always appreciated Navy because they were on the hot streak and this and that. But when I was getting recruited and I met with Coach Monken and, everybody, all the staff and players out there, you could tell that things were starting to turn around. And beyond just the football aspect, there's so much to West Point, and there's so much that it can do for you as a man. Ultimately, I knew, the NFL by no means is a guarantee when you're 17 years old. So I wanted to choose something that was going to challenge me, not just as a man, but also academically. And ultimately, it was going to help me better myself as a man and reach my full potential in life. So I would say the biggest attraction was what I knew it was going to do for me, even though I had to sacrifice, social life and certain funships that come with college. I had no problem doing so because of what ultimately you get out of going to a service academy. So all that on top of, it's something bigger than yourself. So you're going to be a part of a team. I played football my whole life. I didn't know if I'd make it to the NFL, but I knew that I want to be a part of a team. I want to work with people around me, and there's something really special about the military in that regard.
When I looked up, so Army has already beaten Air Force. Navy's coming up on December 13th. I'm sure you got a prediction for that. But for you, how did you balance the rigors of playing football, but also the rigors of your daily duties?
See, I think that's my favorite parallel between football and the military, is that you lean on the people around you, and you have to have a good, you have to have a good support system. It takes a village. We've all heard that. By no means could I have gotten through that place alone. I have a great family. I have great friends. I have, so many mentors from West Point that truly mean so much to me. And there's hardships. You're going to face the hardships. You don't go to school there. You don't commit there and think, oh, it's going to be easy. I'm going to have a great time. So it's really just being realistic and kind of taking things one step at a time when you look at it from an individual standpoint. But in the grand scheme of things, it's really the people around you, and that's what makes that place so special.
And then I got to ask, I got to look it up here. I got to read it. Geospatial Information Science, your major.
Right.
What exactly is that?
So what I always tell people is it has a lot to do with satellite imagery, data collection. The easiest real-world application would be Google Maps, right? Okay. Wherever it is you're trying to go, obviously you can get mapped out directions, and it has a huge, there's a lot of applicability in the military for sure. It was in our geography department, so I knew I wanted to be in the geography department. I've always been pretty fond of the outdoors. And when it came down to it, that was kind of a newer major. Yeah. I had about 2 football friends that were like, hey, this is something, if you want to be in the geography department, it's a very interesting, kind of niche major that you can go. And I decided to do it, and then when I was probably 2 or 3 classes in, I was like, this stuff's really interesting, and I did enjoy it a lot. So, if I could dumb it down by any means, it'd be like Google Maps, and it has a lot to do with like satellite imagery.
Cool. And now, when your NFL career is done, whenever you choose to wrap it up, you've got a 5-year commitment to the military, to the Army. I do. How do you compartmentalize that on a daily basis, playing in the NFL, being in that locker room?
Yeah, I think my best answer is that I don't, because I think the best thing you can do for yourself when you're a professional football player, whatever job it is that you have, right? It's not about what's going to happen a year from now. It's not about what's going to happen 5, 10 years from now. It's never about the future. It's about right now, focusing on today. We talked about special teams a little bit and kind of like, hey, we got to finish the season strong. But realistically, we have one game that we're looking forward to right now, and that's the Cleveland Browns. So in the off season, things are a little bit different, and I kind of, revolve my life according to what I need to do for football, for sure, but also just, trying to set things up for later on down the road. And I would just say ultimately, you focus on what's in front of you right now. And I know that down the road, I chose to go to West Point, and I am very fortunate and glad that I did and graduated from there. And with that comes serving our country. So I'll have no problem with that when the time comes. But in the meantime, I'm completely focused on being a football player and representing West Point in the military, and obviously now the Raiders organization as best as I can.
Awesome. Jon, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you for your service, and good luck with the rest of the season.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. Hey, coming up, we got Kevin Bolinger from Fox 5. He's going to talk a little bit more about Shedeur Sanders.
For the first time ever, step inside Allegiant Stadium on the eve of game day when the building comes alive. This exclusive 75-minute guided tour gives you a rare access to the final pre-game prep, sound checks, lighting tests, rehearsals, and more. Go beyond the standard experience with behind-the-scenes access to suites, clubs, and areas off limits on regular tours. Hear untold stories of the stadium, feel the energy of kickoff coming alive, and you might even spot Raider Rusher. This is your all-access pass to game day before the gates even open.
Raider Nation, welcome into our Week 12 breakdown of our opponent. This week is the Cleveland Browns, a football team that we have to beat down, but they got some big-time football players. We need to watch out for this number one guy I'm going to break down, and I was amazed how big and solid and just he's built in a lab.
True.
Usually he's on the right side. We see here Myles Garrett up here. Let's freeze it here. And Myles Garrett says, hey, man, let me get into a wide 9 technique so really put that pressure on that offensive tackle. And look at that. That's called the Reggie White hump move.
Yep.
Outstanding job there, gaining leverage on that offensive tackle. Big, strong, physical. This young man is built in a lab. Just love his athleticism.
The Raiders have a lot of issues, and they have to find solutions instead of just doing the same thing and expecting a different result.
He's causing a ton of problems for every defense.
But at one point, we have to get Ashton Denty going.
Hey, welcome back to Upon Further Review, and this is a very exciting time for me. I get to welcome in a media colleague, media friend, Kevin Bolinger, Fox 5. And when we do the podcast, though, Kevin, we don't have to use our TV voices.
I like that. We just have a conversation.
We just talk. And what we could talk about right off the bat, the Raiders facing a rookie quarterback, Shedeur Sanders. And all you got to do is say the name, and people get excited and say things. So I'll just ask you right off the bat, Shedeur Sanders coming to town, thoughts?
It's going to add more buzz to a game between two teams that have struggled in the win-loss column, that's for sure. I think my first thought is, here's a guy who's not had a lot of snaps with the first team. Yep. Kevin Stefanski has really not even had him out there practicing with the first team all season long. So this week of prep for Shedeur Sanders is going to be bigger than probably he's ever had before, because he's going to have to take what he learned last Sunday and try and get with the first team and try and translate that to Allegiant Stadium this Sunday.
What I thought was interesting was he spoke to the media this week, and he said nothing can faze him because he just had his house broken into. But he was excited because they didn't steal his jewelry.
No jewelry.
No jewelry was taken. But I'm sure that the Raiders, especially Max Crosby, would like to steal something else from him come Sunday at Allegiant Stadium. Shedeur in against the Ravens, 4 of 16, 47 yards, an interception. The Raiders lead this series all-time 18-10, and the Raider defense, they've forced 4 turnovers in the past 3 games. Is that going to be the key, just rattling him and making him uncomfortable in the pocket as a rookie quarterback?
Yeah, uncomfortable is the word, right? And nobody makes quarterbacks uncomfortable better than Max Crosby. Yeah. Just the way he moves around. He's yapping at you all the time. And Shedeur Sanders, from what we saw in college, likes to kind of go back at it. So that the back and forth is going to be great. I wish we could do a mic'd up segment maybe awesome. To listen to those conversations after the game. but that is the key. You kind of want to get him out of that comfort, get him rattled a little bit. You have to take somebody who's going to be nervous because he's now the starter. He's going to have a lot of friends and family flying in as well. So Max Crosby, just disrupt and cause chaos, what he does best.
This might be the most exciting game between 2-8 teams that we've seen because of what's going to come with this. And really, if you predicted this back in the offseason, well, of course Shedeur Sanders is going to make his starting debut against the Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. It was just, you knew it was going to happen. But he's not the only storyline coming in. You've got two high-profile running backs, Quinshon Judkins from the Browns, Ashton Jeanty. Ashton, we've seen flashes, but again, if that offensive line can't open any holes, let alone stop him from getting hit 2 yards deep, what kind of matchup are you seeing here? I know they're not going head up against each other, but it's another storyline here too between these two guys.
Well, with Jeanty not getting many yards on Monday night against the Cowboys, Judkins has jumped him. He's now tops for the rookie running backs, if you will. But it does come down to the offensive line. I mean, Myles Garrett gets a lot of attention, and rightfully so, on the Cleveland defense, but they've got pretty good front line right there. And we saw that with Dallas last week, and it's going to be another challenge this week for that Raiders offensive line to open up some holes.
When you look at the numbers, and it's funny, he jumped him, literally. Judkins has 561 rushing yards, Ashton Jeanty 554. And that's after he only ran for 7 yards on 6 carries. Raiders' red zone offense, it hasn't really been much to talk about or to brag about. They're 28th in the NFL in red zone offense. It seems like they keep getting in a position where they could jump teams themselves. They could have, would have, should have been up 21-0 at Denver. They could have, would have, should have been up 17-0 against the Cowboys. What is going on with the red zone offense? Why can't they just get over the hump and score touchdowns instead of relying on Daniel Carlson?
It seems like we have this conversation a lot over the last few years. Indeed. I mean, it was a big problem at the back end of Derek Carr's tenure with the Raiders as well. The red zone offense just couldn't get it done. And it comes down to, and I hate to keep harping on the offensive line, but protection-wise, they've got to protect Geno Smith. He's been sacked 6 times in the red zone so far this year, and that's the third most sacks by a QB in the red zone in the NFL. If he doesn't have the time to make them, but he has also acknowledged that he needs to get rid of the ball faster as well. He talked about that on Wednesday afternoon when he spoke with the media as well. It comes back to everybody doing their job. They've got to protect a little better, but he also has to get rid of the ball a little faster.
And when it comes to Geno, he's taken a lot of the blame. And again, it's the position, right? It's the nature of the position. The quarterbacks get too much credit when things are going well, too much of the blame when things are going poorly. But he's right there. And, if my car didn't start, I'm not going to blame him, even though he told me to. And if the kids are doing bad in school, I'm not going to blame him, even though he told me to. But what I do want us to credit him with is just being a professional and taking on everything that a professional NFL quarterback is supposed to do. What does he need to do? And I'm not even going to say get out of his own head, so to speak, but what does he need to do to take that next step and really just kind of let it fly? Because I felt like against the Cowboys, you saw some of that, even with the interception, but what does he need to do to kind of just let go and just play?
Well, they want to take shots, obviously. He has to have time to take the shots, but I'd like to see him maybe get out of the pocket a little bit more and give him some RPO type situations. I know he's had the quad injury, and I don't know how much that's limited what he can do from that standpoint in the offense, but if he can use his mobility, if he is getting healthier enough to do that, I think that opens up a lot more options for what Chip Kelly can do with his offense.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've been covering this team for more than 5, 6, 7 years now, but the more the faces change, seems like the story kind of remains the same. But the storytellers try to tell different stories. Kevin, thank you so much for joining me today, and now we can go back to talking in your TV voice.
We're getting ready to do it right now.
All right, thanks. My Cause, My Cleats is back, and across the league, players are lacing up to honor the causes that shape them, from supporting families in need to championing mental health and fighting diseases that affect those close to home. Every design carries a purpose, and every cleat carries a cause. For more information on the Raiders players' causes and cleats, head to raiders.com/cleats. Well, that'll do it for this week's edition of Upon Further Review. Thanks to our guests, Cynthia Frelund, Jon Rhattigan, and Kevin Bolinger, for previewing this Sunday's game against the Cleveland Browns at Allegiant Stadium. To stay up to date on all things silver and black, check out our shows and watch them all on our YouTube channel, and visit Raiders.com for content.